What's up, everybody? Welcome to a very special episode of True Crime and Cocktails. It's your bitch, Christy Oxborrow, and today I'm here to help guide you through this bonus episode. This episode is called A Taste of Patreon because it's giving you, our dear listeners, a taste of what our bonus episodes are like over on Patreon. You never know what's going to happen. It's pure chucklehead chaos at its finest. So the first part of today's Taste of Patreon features a last call episode from April 2024. It's just two women talking about what past time period they believe they would have thrived in. Are you intrigued? Well, then you've come to the right place.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to this last call episode of True Crime and Cocktails, a Patreon exclusive. We're so glad that you're here. As always, I am your host, Lauren Ash, and as always, I am joined by my co-hostess with the most S, Christy Oxborrow. How you feeling?
I chose now to take a drink.
Did you hear that? I just belched.
Oh, I didn't hear it.
I was feeling it the whole time I was talking, and I was like, just get through to the end of the sentence. And then I turned my head, and it was like Homer Simpson, like
The
jiggly
flap,
lips. Yeah.
Look, now I'm sad I missed it.
Yeah.
No, I just took the chance of, as though I don't know how you open, like as though I don't know what you're about to say prior to me saying something. I was just like, oh yeah, she's about to speak to me. Like, what a fucking ding dong. Like, you don't need to take a drink in that moment. We've just begun.
Listen,
We're doing great.
We're doing the best we can.
Yeah, we're doing great.
I also want you to know, what am I drinking over here? I'm so glad you asked. Look at this. This is a Sunny D vodka seltzer.
Oh my God.
There's also only 95 calories in here, 0 sugar. Not that I care about that, but just because it could sound like, oh, that's a ton of sugar and juice. You know what I mean?
Course. Yeah.
I am in love with these.
Well, I think it's a smart move to go for like the millennials who grew up on the Sunny D or Tampico juice for those of us who couldn't afford legit Sunny D.
Of course.
Oh
yeah, we never had Sunny D growing up. No.
Yeah, or Beep, if you're from the prairies. But I think it's so smart because we're all so nostalgic.
Totally.
That
My boyfriend and I
makes
both
sense.
love this, to the point that we went to like multiple stores looking for it because we found it on a lark once in like a random
Oh,
store. So then
sure.
we started chasing it. You know what I mean? Then we're
Oh,
chasing that dragon.
yep.
So I was having a birthday get together back in February, and we stocked up with as many packs of Sunny D as we could, the Sunny D
Mhm.
seltzer. And we were so excited, and he was so excited. And so he was going around the party being like, "You guys want to try these?" And then people would try them, and everyone hated them but us. Everyone hates them.
No.
Yeah. And I don't know why, because to me, it tastes like Sunny D, but lightly carbonated, which to me, it's like, what more do you want, people?
First of all, I couldn't be more delighted at the thought of the two of you walking around like this is part of some sort of multi-level
Yep.
marketing situation where you're like, you've got to try one of these. And then you open a trunk and it's
Yep.
full of them. And it's like, how am I going to get rid of this gut milk? That's
Yeah.
an Only Murders in the Building reference.
Yeah.
But that's how it feels. And I love it.
Yeah.
Couldn't love it more. Like, this is delightful to me.
Yeah. Anyway,
I mean, I guess you reap the benefits when nobody else likes them.
yesterday we had a friend of the podcast, Leslie Seiler, and her husband over. And my boyfriend was like, "Oh, do you want me to get out the Sunny D?" And I was like, "Wait a second, we still have Sunny D's?" And he was like, "Yeah." So yeah, we
Of
do reap the
course.
benefits. And I will be honest, when he said that, he was only saying it to me. No one else
Of
wants
course.
these, okay? So
Of course.
yeah.
Now, I need to know that Sunny D has not only been smart enough to create this product based on, nostalgia, and that they've also created some sort of commercial where you're reaching into the fridge, OJ, purple stuff, Sunny D. Like, tell me that is a thing.
I've not seen any. To me, what you do is you go like White Claw, this Sunny D, right? Because
Yes.
it's everyone has a seltzer now.
Of course.
And this to me, I mean, look, no offense to the White Claw people, but this is a superior product.
Hey, well, see, I like that.
Yeah.
I like when you find something you like. I'll say it. I bought the last time I was at a liquor store, um, not Mike's. Oh, I love that I can't, I'm just blanking. Um, who did the hard freeze people? Is that Mike's? I don't know because
I
you
don't
can get
know.
like a red freeze and a blue freeze and a white freeze.
Yeah.
I love that I'm just blanking on who that is. But they put out a purple.
Oh,
And I was like, "Okay." And so I bought one, just a single can, and I'm like, "I'll try it on the show, it'll be fine." Well, I bought it weeks ago, and my husband was chomping at the bit to try it, so he's like, "I'm gonna have it," and I'm like, "Okay, I wanna at least try a sip so I know if I should buy any more." I haven't bought any more. Like, I took a sip and I literally said, "Oh, that tastes purple." Like, it had such a hard simulated grape. But, like, not real grape, the grape we all know of, like, think of the cheapest, shittiest, lowest level grape juice you've had in your life, and then it's kind of almost that.
for some reason, I really thought you were going to say, think of the children.
That does sound like me. I love that I'm just gonna look it up. I think
Look it
it's
up.
Mike's Hard. Mike's Harder Blood Orange? Where's this coming from? Mike's Hard Purple. We'll go with that. It is, in fact, a Mike's product
Listen, we're fans.
because they're the I mean, how do you not see Purple Freeze and go, "Yeah."
You got to try it.
And then it was just it was not I wasn't a fan. Like,
Not blown away.
the Mike's Lime, please put that in my face till the end
Yeah.
of time. Um, I'd like to try the Mike's, Black Cherry, but I've never seen one anywhere.
Yeah.
It's a real shame. It's a real shame.
Listen, and as you
Um,
know, I really got into the Mike's Fuzzy Peach.
oh, yeah. Yeah.
I was
We had
living on them this past summer in Toronto.
Oh, of course. Yeah, we had some of those, in our pantry for a while, and then I just became, like, the cool mom out of nowhere, and my oldest, who is now legal to drink, in our
Too
province, I was like, "Oh, I know, I can't think about it."
much.
He was headed back to school at one point when he came home for a weekend, and I was like, "Hey, bud, you, you wanna take some of these?" And I just, like, offloaded all this alcohol on him, and I'm like, "What am I doing? What am I doing?" Apparently, it's the one time in my life I've been cool.
Hey,
Sorry,
listen.
the second time.
I think creating a um safe space in that way, because it's not like he's like 12 and you're like, you want to
Oh,
sip in my cocktail? Like,
oh, of
you know what
course.
I mean?
Yeah.
Listen, and I'm not judging other people's parenting because I'm not a parent. So if you're giving your 12-year-old sips of your cocktails, that's you do you, boo.
Oh, of
It's
course.
not my business. But what I'm saying is that I feel like, it's he's of age. I feel like you've always endeavored to create a safe environment for him. So I feel like if nothing else,
Sure.
this is strengthening it.
Oh, well, I will say the amount of times in the last year, like leading up to him becoming legal, the amount that he was like, "So, we having any drinks tonight? I could just like just a quick one." Like that I would just be like, "No." And I just like he would go out like to parties and friends' houses and stuff, and I just didn't I chose not to think about it. Um, there would be times where he'd text and be like, "I'm staying here tonight." And I'm like, "I know what that means," but I let it go.
Yeah.
I let it go. I shove it out of my brain. Um, but yeah, now that he's legal age, I mean, we took him for his first official legal drink on his birthday.
Right.
And like the 5 of us all went and, him and I were the only 2 to I mean, obviously my 2 are the other 2 are much younger, but and my husband was driving, so that's why him and I were the only 2 to partake in it, but I ended up with a drink that was so large, I didn't see it coming. He had at least 2 different drinks, just trying stuff out.
Look, I love it for him. I'm gonna be honest. I
Yeah,
think, he's a responsible kid and
sure.
I love it for him. Get your buzz on, bro. You know what
Oh,
I mean?
yeah. But get this, at his age,
Yeah,
you think, like, he's gonna go, like, low end.
sure.
He won't touch a beer at all. He thinks they're disgusting. And I'm like, we
Yeah.
all went through phases where that's all we drank because it was the cheapest thing for a group to buy. No.
I also remember a certain young lady ordering by choice kokanee beers anywhere we went.
Oh, that is true. See, that's the thing. I went through a phase. Kokanee, what I was a fan. Coors Light, I went through a phase because a friend of mine that I hung out with quite a lot, she always did Coors. Um, Canadian was I think I had a single can in my whole life. I was
I've
like,
drank
no, I'm good.
Canadian before. I drank more Canadian than Labatt Blue. Labatt Blue was
Oh,
that's
sure,
tougher, I find.
sure. Yeah, I think,
Um,
yeah, Coors and Kokanee are pretty much the only ones. Every once in a while, I have that moment of like, I should do a Kokanee. But then again, like when I first started drinking, I was a rye type. I
right.
loved a rye. And my husband will often reference it because I was drinking rye when we went on our first date because I don't remember what he got. I think he got a rum and I got a rye and the waitress put our drinks down and she'd mixed them up. So I took a sip and almost spit it everywhere and he did the same and we went, "Oh shit, our drinks are separate." But got so sick on rye, I could never go back.
Was that the bathroom one?
Oh, easily, yeah. Yeah. Oh, it was bad. Like I can't go back. The very
But you
thought,
remember the specific bathroom incident I'm talking about, right?
I assume I've had a couple.
Yeah.
Were you part
Yeah.
of it?
No.
Okay, because the 2, 3 off the top of my head, I don't think you were there,
Yeah.
but I guarantee all of those featured rye.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not good. Like oh god, I couldn't now. I've leaned more now in my later years, to more of a vodka base.
Yeah.
And then I like, a Palm Bay. I've heard there's coming out with 2 new, like, tropical type flavors for the summer.
Okay.
So I'm like, "Let's talk about that, Palm Bay."
Um, absolutely. Absolutely, I agree. Yeah, listen, I hear you. I feel like vodka ultimately is always a cleaner drunk, if that makes sense.
Oh, sure.
Not in terms of literal cleanliness, but in terms of like you can get drunk and you can get hungover on it. But for me, it's like it doesn't make me feel like I'm going to uh burn from the inside out. Like
Sure.
getting drunk on like whiskey, any of
Oh.
the dark spirits, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Dark spirits. I feel like that's not a coincidence. You know what I mean? Like when I used to be in my Jack and Diet Coke phase, like that was
Oh,
always a rough morning. Like it just
yeah.
is.
Oh, we
It
all
just
went
is.
through a phase where Jack was our best friend.
Oh yeah, Gentleman Jack, wasn't
Yeah.
necessarily a gentleman.
Yeah, and
Also
then
when I
we
was on
learned, not
yeah.
he's not the choice.
When I was on vacation, the flavor of dark rum I do love. So like a pina colada with like a dark
Oh,
rum floater. I love the flavor of a true dark rum, but it's also
sure.
like it doesn't treat me well. It's an abusive relationship. Like I was in a perpetual state of like slight nausea on vacation and I was
Oh,
refusing to
sure.
stop, you know?
You were on vacation.
I was doing my
Yeah.
best
Yeah, and
to
look,
get
I
drunk.
I think when it comes to vodka, it's basically potatoes.
Yeah,
So
you
it's
love potatoes in every form.
yes, and apparently every form.
Yeah.
And so that makes sense to me. Um, I mean, I like a cherry whiskey.
Yes, you
That
do.
is one of my favorites. The amount of places though that I go to order that and they don't have it.
I think it's a rare I don't know that a lot of bars keep it,
I
which is weird
guess.
to me because I feel like cherry
Right?
Coke is so popular that, like,
Right?
I would keep it because then you can turn any Coke into, like, a boozy cherry Coke.
Oh, agreed. That is one of my favorite go-tos just to have like some sort of random drink on a night out. Um, I also like a Fireball, which my 19-year-old thinks is like basic. And I'm like, you bite
Fireball?
your tongue. Oh yeah. I made a comment about um loving Fireball because of course here we go again, I'm not a regular mom, I'm a cool mom. I was like, for Christmas, do you, or not for Christmas, for like your birthday, do you want me to like get you like a bottle of something? And he's like, I don't know, like what? And I was like, I don't know, like Fireball, because I was like, that's classic. Have it on its own, have it with something else. Like I often put it in a Coke. I think it's delightful. And he was like, I'm not that basic. And I was like, holy shit, you shut your mouth.
Has he done a shot of Fireball? Because I would go on record as saying that's not basic. That's a journey.
It is. And so I have to believe he has because
He has to
unless
have.
unless he's seen people and he's just basing it based off of the people he's seen having it, I don't know. But I'm just like,
Or
that's
is
a
is
delight.
this well, is this one of those things where he's like, "Oh, it tastes like cinnamon. That's basic, like pumpkin spice." But he's never actually had it because if you had it, you would
Oh,
recognize that it's ripping your throat apart as you drink it. I'm talking about a
that's a
shot of it.
terrible idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. We once had these ice cube trays that made shot glasses that were ice. And
Mm.
so we lined them up and we filled them with Fireball. And I watched one just immediately start to melt it and it started dripping out all over the table. And I'm just like, well, because that stuff is terrible for you, but I'll still take it. I mean, sure. Did I drink the shot glass and then drink it off the table? I was young and frugal because I was like, I'm not
Yeah.
wasting that. But yeah, that's a tough. Like, I can't imagine somebody taking a shot of that and just being like, anyway, because you have to have a second to go, like, what? Okay, there it
Yeah.
is. And you're wide awake. I mean, it's a good winter shot.
It's a good winter shot. You just sounded like
Yeah,
yar yar yar.
I've never been more old timey, I guess. Like, that was my Fireball would have been my go to as a pioneer.
Yeah.
I would have had anything if back in pioneer days. I would have drunk anything out of a jug with any number of X's on it
Oh, same.
just to get through it.
If there I mean, look, I don't wanna no shade to either of us, but, like, in pioneer times, like, we're the whores. You know what I mean?
Would not have survived.
I think
What?
the only way we survived was if men needed the company of a lady. I just feel like we would have been brassy, drunken
Yeah.
broads, and we weren't born into money, so it's not like we were of those
Yeah.
of that ilk.
Oh, yeah. There's no chance that my pa had any land he could give a potential suitor.
Yeah.
So I'm just, oh, yeah, I would have been screwed. Like, I understand that
Yeah, you
back
would have been
then.
screwed, literally.
I mean, I know that knowing what we know now, going back would be difficult. Back then, they didn't know this lifestyle,
Right.
but I couldn't do it. Like, the second someone's like, "You've gotta go on this wagon and be on there for weeks, and then when you get off the wagon, you gotta start digging out sod clumps to make a house." I'd be like, "Hold the fuck up. I have to make it when I get there and then sleep on the ground? Ugh. Do you
This is
already have a
why
house? Just put your dick in me. We'll make it work."
this is why I now listen, maybe
Yeah.
I'm messing up pioneer times with the Wild West. That might be my bad.
Sure.
Perhaps there wasn't as many a brothel in the pioneer days as there was during the Wild
Oh,
West.
there has to have been
I
a
just feel like
lot
then
of
we have a roof over our heads that we didn't have to build out of mud. You know what I mean? Like
I could be a saloon gal. You're right.
a saloon gal, if nothing else, a
Yeah.
saloon gal. Like we would work our
Yeah.
way up. Like eventually we'd be the madams. Like we
Oh,
would
of
be
course.
in the power, but like we're not doing it for life. You know what I mean? Like
No.
we would find a way to end up on top.
Yeah.
Don't pardon the pun.
Thank you.
But I just feel like, we've got the personalities for it. I feel like back
Yeah.
then
You're right.
it was less transactional and it was more about like having the company of a woman that could make you laugh. I'm idolizing the sex
Okay.
workers of the Wild West.
Stop. In your mind, old-timey saloon ladies reeled the men in with very busty, low-cut
Yep.
outfits,
Yep.
and once they got him in that bed, they just did, like, a clean 5.
And it was more about the couch banter, honestly.
Oh, I don't know about that. I I'm convinced they had to do more work at that point, but, I mean, if that's the life we lead, I pray that it is just the fact that they want us to be funny and that they'll pay more for the funny lady, than they will, uh,
Funny
for the
lady.
for the
Give me the
sexual
one, give me
lady.
the gal with the good personality. Like, I think that was the case. I'm not kidding. I think that there was different categories.
Get this straight. You think that a man who hasn't felt the touch of a woman in months is saving up his money to go into town to hear, oh God, Janine Garofalo do do a bit about like horses. You know what I mean? Like it just feels
I'm gonna be honest with you.
I,
Yeah, I do.
the
I do.
rose-colored glasses with which you look at the old west is
I
beautiful and I
just
like it.
think that there was a certain amount. Look, here's the deal.
Mhm.
Did these gentlemen potentially want to get their rocks off? Yes.
Sure.
But just as they had not experienced the touch of a woman for months, they had not experienced the company of a woman for months. And
Oh,
I
sure.
think there is a contingent back then. They're not connecting with the other cowboys. They're not talking. They're each on their horse. There's clomping, the gallops. They can't hear shit. Who are
Mhm.
they really
Mhm.
talking to? The answer is you and I in the saloon.
Well, see, that's the thing. We would be the first ones to come up with a time limit.
See?
And that we'd be like, "Okay, turn over the sand." And then we'd be like, "Okay, well, we should talk about that." And we would learn to just drag it out and then be like, "Bah, and our time is done." We'd
Like the
basically be
sands through the
therapists.
hourglass. These are the moments of your money. Yeah,
Yeah, we'd basically be therapists. Um, that I think I could do.
this is
Not
what I'm
therapy
saying.
in general, but like pioneer Old West, try and talk a man out of having to actually sleep with him.
Yep.
Um, but then in that case, I'm sleeping with him and getting twice the money.
See, you're already thinking like a saloon gal.
I'm thinking like management is what
Yes, this is what I'm
Oh,
saying. We
yeah.
wouldn't be doing the dirty work for long. Not that it's dirty work. It was the
Right.
Wild West. Everything was dirty.
Oh, I can't
Um,
imagine.
we would work our way up very quickly.
I need to believe that. I need us at the bare minimum quickly getting to the level of the men have had to have bathed first.
That could be a part of what we also offer.
Because the idea of touching anything that hasn't bathed in weeks, I don't know how long I could last at that level.
I get that. I also just want to put out there, would
Mhm.
because your maiden name is Ash, so would the name of the saloon be like the Tits and Ash Saloon?
I I like that we've now worked our way up to owning our own.
I never thought that we didn't have, have entrepreneurship on the mind. Okay? There weren't a lot of options for women back then.
You're
Look,
right.
what are we going to do? Become a doctor? That wasn't allowed. A lawyer? No way. Journalists? We
Yeah.
weren't allowed to read. There were very few options. And unless you married into money and were a woman of leisure, guess what? You're a woman of
Well,
leisure.
Now, the fact that I'll never get over the fact that you truly want to believe, and this is just your pure soul, um, that men back then preferred just like a woman they could talk to
I
over a
guess
woman that
maybe.
could touch their junk. And I'm just like, someone grew up reading Sarah Plain and Tall. You know what? You know what I mean? Like someone grew up with like, oh, someone wants communication with their
I
loved
think
one. Not that
I
that was saloon times, but that was old times.
I think that there was a contingent of this theme in Young Guns, which is a movie I viewed many times as a
Oh, there
child,
it is.
because Casey Simasco's character, whose name I'm blanking on for some reason at the moment, he says, "Ma'am, I just want to hold you." And then he just hugs her because he's about to go into like this crazy battle, right? So there's that. And then
Mhm.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, in Deadwood, isn't there a connection between someone and one of the sex workers? Wasn't that?
I've never seen Deadwood.
See, I watched the first couple seasons. I don't remember. It was a while ago. I don't remember. I love that it was even longer ago that I watched Young Guns 1,000 times as a child, but that's burned in here. Anyway,
Do you think this hope of them, these pioneer type men, and the idea that you believe we could make it, um, do you believe it's because you grew up with the thought that most of those pioneer like men looked like the cast of Young Guns? Because
okay. Look, you're asking the hard-hitting questions, and guess what? You're right to. Yeah, I think perhaps my
Mhm.
perception of the Wild West is Emilio Estevez in a bowler hat. I'm gonna be honest.
Okay, look, I'm looking up Young Guns.
They were
Now,
hot. Every one of them was
oh
hot.
yeah, okay, let's click on this. Ah, Kiefer, oh Lou. I mean, look at
Yeah.
that. For anybody
Oh,
watching, look at that.
I that was the cover of the VHS, and I would
Oh yeah.
sit and stare at that cover box because I'm like, they're all gorgeous.
Oh yeah.
Even, Dermot Mulroney,
Even
who
though he
played
looks terrifying.
well, he played Dirty Steve, so he was obviously dirtied up there. If you gave him a face wash, guess what?
I mean, now is Young Guns 2 up there as well? Because it has Christian Slater.
Oh, yeah.
The West just got wilder.
Well, it would have with us there.
We would have been unstoppable. They would have been like, "You have to close this place down." Oh my god, the local sheriff. We'd have to get him in on it. Like, he'd have to either he's getting a small piece of it or he's getting his business dealt with for free. Not by us because we own the place. Um, but he's not gonna like us. Like, he's gonna immediately just be like, "No," because
He's
he'll
gonna be like,
realize we're smarter than him, and we know we are,
"Yep.
and that's gonna scare him, and he'll think
Oh,
we're witches.
there's a day where we go toe to toe, and one of us says the words to him, 'You know as well as I do that if this was in another time and when we were allowed to have jobs, we'd have your job and we'd do it twice as good.'"
Sorry. We're gonna make this movie, right? I'd like to be played by Melissa McCarthy.
Of course. I've written down women of sleisure because I think that might be one of the greatest things I've ever said.
I I'm tickled and delighted. Oh god, I'm also gonna have to rewatch the both Young Guns. Um,
Yeah, you
Look,
are.
I don't know how I would have done in the Wild West, but I'll tell you this, I guarantee I would have been one of the first ladies back then who it is revealed under her dress, she's wearing shorts because of the
Yeah.
chafing. And people are gonna be like, "What is that?" And I'll be like, "Ah, you just don't understand." But like, because I can't do the pantaloon because it's just already gonna be a hot mess. But I'm also gonna have some sort of a gun or some sort of dagger strapped to my thigh. I feel it.
Yeah.
That just feels like the sort of madam I would be. Because if you harm one of my girls, here we go. It's gonna be Mama Nugs, but
Yes.
but but except it would be girls.
Yeah.
Except I'd have a few boys because even I would know some of them prefer it.
Look, this is the thing. We would be progressive.
We would be.
It would get us into hot water. That's the first time the arson happens.
Of course.
No one dies, but they burn down the saloon, and then
Right.
we're gonna have to raise money to get it built back up.
Now, my question is, in this scenario where you and I in like, are we saying 1800s prior? I don't even know. Um, we're running this saloon that, is also a brothel.
Yeah.
In that scenario, are you having a secret relationship with the sheriff,
Mhm.
with one of our bartenders,
Mhm.
or with that fancy fast finger moving piano player?
To be honest with you, I'm gonna say what my gut is, and the answer is all three. I think that the sheriff's gonna be married to
Yeah.
someone else. We're
Oh,
in love.
a church God-fearing woman.
Yeah, we're in love
Of
for sure.
course. Of course.
Now, the bartender, there's been some late nights. He gets the fireball shots going, and then we get into it.
Yeah.
So that's number 2. Number 3, the fast-fingered piano man.
Mhm.
That was the Christmas party. You know what I mean?
Oh, of course.
That was a Christmas
Of
party.
course. And look, I'm gonna tell you, it does break my heart to see you with the sheriff because I know you wanna be together.
We do. And in another time and place, we would be.
Of course. Of course. It's just such a shame that her father was the previous sheriff, and that's essentially how he got his job,
Mm,
and so that's why he won't leave her,
he can't.
even though she's cold and unfeeling.
Yeah. I mean, look, he eventually does, but we get run out of town. Like, it's a whole thing.
Oh,
He doesn't
sure.
want it to affect our business. There's lots of layers.
Sure. And
This thing writes itself.
at some point, I'm gonna have to confess to you that I'm deeply in love with, like, the worst, baddest boy in town.
Yep.
And I'm like, "But I love him." And you'll be like, "He doesn't love you. He's fucking everybody we've got on staff." And I'm like, "Well, because 'cause he's gotta keep up appearances."
Meanwhile, there's a
Yeah.
there's a there's a slighter, more nerdy gentleman that keeps hanging out, who
The
is just
store
looking
clerk
for
across the street.
just looking for
Yep.
5 minutes of your time. He's
I
always
know.
bringing you licorice whips and root beer floats and whatnot, cream
Oh.
sodas, and
And then
and
I'm
you
always telling him I can't. I can't do another. I can't because if I keep adding to my waist, no man is gonna wanna pay to be with a lady like me. And he'll be like, "Well, some of us would be honored to be
Yep.
with a lady like you." I'm already in love with him. You know it.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh god, he might have to teach me how to read
Oh,
because I
for
see
sure.
him reading at some point and I'm like, "What is like, tell me the story. I've never read." And he teaches me how to read so I can read it for myself.
Yeah.
That's a relationship with a foundation of friendship. That's a lifer.
Oh, yeah. So when
Once I
you
get over
start
this whole bad boy stuff.
Yeah, and I'm like, "Look, you gotta open your eyes."
Well, what's gonna happen is I'm gonna see the bad boy
Yep.
robbing that store and putting my friend, who I don't realize I like more than a friend,
Cecil.
I'm yes. I'm gonna see Cecil with a gun pointed at him,
Yeah.
and that's gonna be my moment of I'm gonna get in between them.
Yeah.
And then that's the moment the bad boy, who I'm assuming is like Lonnie,
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
know. He's gonna call me a whore and tell me to get out of his way. And that's gonna be my moment of like, I've really I don't know what to do with this. Like, I'm gonna be really upset about it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to have a real moment of like, it's gonna cause a lot of looking inside.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh,
Oh,
this story is nuanced.
I couldn't be happier with everything that's happening. I also just don't think I'd last a day.
Oh, sure.
I just don't think there's any part of me like, I think like, knowing everything we know now of the world,
Yeah.
how far back in time do you think you could be sent and you could live a comfortable life?
That's an interesting question
Well,
because truthfully, there is a piece of me that thinks I was meant to exist in the Renaissance.
oh, sure.
Let me preface that by saying, however, that I think I would be meant to live in the Renaissance if I came from money. I don't think that I would do well as like a
Mhm.
servant gal, which given our lineage, that's what it would have been.
Yeah.
However, if
Uh,
in a fantastical world, I was one of the women laying naked being fed grapes, like, I think I
oh,
could have really thrived back then.
oh, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, like, assuming you pick me up from today and plot me in another time frame.
yeah,
I mean, I have the body of a Renaissance.
yeah.
I just don't know if I could eat the stuff of the Renaissance, you know what I mean?
I
Like,
don't know if we'd stay that big, that's the thing, is that I feel like it would be hard, but again, if you were someone of money, then I feel like
oh, sure.
it's feasible we could be getting fed cakes, you know what I mean? Like,
Sure. I mean, that, yes. If it when it comes to food, I could see it. Um, you're right about money. I don't think I could go back and live, like, during either of the world wars.
no,
I don't think I have that in me.
no,
Um,
same.
I don't know that I could do I think I would always be far too uptight for the '60s and '70s. Like, I feel like everyone would just be like, "Relax, man," and I would just be like, "Relax!" Like, I just don't think I could. '80s, I might be okay.
60s for me, I could get into the drugs and I could get into
Oh,
the,
sure.
the free the nude dancing, I'm sure that happened. I I'm assuming happened. I'm too monogamous for the free love stuff.
Oh, sure. I
Way too monogamous. I don't think I would survive a day in like, "Oh, we're all having sex with each other?" Like, that's not me.
oh, I get that. I also could not love more that the 2 time periods you chose, you referenced being nude. You just wanna
Yeah.
go to a time also, keeping in mind, when I say I guess I specifically said back, I could mean forward. Like, I'm talking like
Mm.
if you would like to go jump ahead like 100 years or
I don't
a
know that we're
couple
gonna want
100
that either.
because well, you don't know.
You don't know.
Because
Yeah,
I'd
I
like
think
to
I could.
believe it would be like next gen, but we can't know that.
We can't be sure. I would okay, so I think Renaissance, yes. Then I don't think I'm popping back up like you're saying. I don't think I'm interested in anything until the 60s at the soonest. Even then, I don't know that I would be fully a good fit. So yeah, going into the future, I mean, more than 20 years, I don't know.
It's tough because you just don't know.
Yeah,
You don't know what's gonna happen. Like, let's all say it. The last 4 years have just been a complete other world.
it's a blur.
So, if we were to go back to even, like, 10 years ago, and we're told even half the stuff that happened, like, in these last 4 years, I just think no one would believe you. So,
100%.
I mean, oh god, but if we're talking, like, the age we are now, I don't know if I'd be happy in the '80s. I couldn't do, like,
Oh,
'50s because it would just
no.
I'm too mouthy and sarcastic to
Yeah.
I'd never get a husband.
So let me pause here. You're saying we're our current age now. When would we go into history? Because if you're
Yes.
talking about the Renaissance, we'd be dead. People weren't living this long.
That's a very good point. Um, yeah.
So I mean,
Okay, then we'll alter it to at you can pick the age and the time frame that you get put in. What would be your ultimate combination of your age and the time frame that you get put in?
Oh,
Like
16 nude in the Renaissance.
16 nude in the Renaissance. I love that. I'm like, how do you spell Renaissance? I think Beyonce taught me. Doesn't matter. That's amazing. I'm writing that down.
Yeah,
Um, Again, I feel like all along I should have been keeping favorite quotes from all of these
of course.
bonus episodes, but I constantly forget about it. Um, 16 nude in the Renaissance is your is your ideal. Oh, I mean, look, there is a part of me that would like to be in my early 20s. I'm talking maybe 21, 22. Um, in the early 90s so that I knew what concerts to go to
Yeah,
because then, uh-oh, someone's become a groupie for this little known band Nirvana. Wonder
yeah,
how that's going to work out. Uh-oh, someone started a relationship with Nirvana's drummer. I wonder how that's going to work out and if it's going to be for life. You know what
yeah.
I mean? Like that's where my brain would go.
I need to also just go back for a second and make people know, like, I'm not a weirdo or a perv. It's that in the Renaissance, you were dying by your time you were like 28 or 30. So I was just trying to
Sure.
give myself a good shake at like a decent life. Like that's why I was saying 16 and nude.
It
Um,
first I
it was a
also
different
love
time. I have to be clear.
I also love that you're like concerned that they're gonna harp about the age and maybe not the fact that nude has come up so many times.
I feel like, yeah, you raise a
Yeah.
good point. You raise a really good point.
And look, that just says to me that's you at your freest self.
Well, I wouldn't have been necessarily free at age 16, but I guess if I have the layers of this are getting wilder. Can I have my current brain, like my 41-year-old brain in my 16-year-old body?
Oh.
Because then, then I'm unstoppable.
Oh, yeah. I think so.
Yeah,
Even you at 16 mentally, but then? I
true,
mean,
true.
yeah, so I think okay, so we're in agreement on this thing that's never happening. You
Yeah,
get to pick the age
yep,
that you are.
beautiful.
Um, you get to pick, how your the age of your brain.
Yep,
So, the body from one time in your life, the brain from another time in your life, and that gets combined in a quantum leapy type way, and you get put into a different, time frame.
yeah,
Um, like, look, have I always been interested in a cowboy? Sure. But could I homestead? No. I
again,
I'm not
this
jar
is
and pickles.
another
I can't do
check
it.
on the pro list for the whore lifestyle.
Oh, yeah, there's no way that I didn't have my hair curled and just boobs for days hanging out in front of everybody, leaning when men come in, sitting on the porch, which will probably be wraparound. Knowing me, that's where I got it from.
Mhm.
Past me. There's someone in my past who was back in the old west that had a wraparound porch, and she just, like, locked it in her brain and was like, "Generations from now, they will beg for this life." Um, yeah, on a hot day, I'm absolutely leaning on the railing of that saloon outside, fanning myself, talking to any of the guys walking by. 100%. Offering them like a BJ for a nickel? I don't know. How the
It's hard to know. It's hard to know.
maybe they get a full bath for a nickel,
Yeah.
and then you add a rub and tug for a second nickel.
Add a rub and tug. This is amazing.
This
Um,
is what you get when you when we start talking Renaissance versus Old West.
yeah,
I
and
just don't
listen,
know if I'd survive well in either. If I didn't have money, I would not.
no, this is what I'm saying. Again, if I was going back to the Renaissance poor, that would be, I think, a
Yeah.
much different existence, which I don't know that I would thrive in as easily.
I'm also learning not the greatest on time frames. So I'm literally going to Google, even though this will embarrass me to say it out loud. I'm going to Google the words, when was the Old West?
Yeah.
Because I don't know. Wow.
What year? What are we talking?
Well, it came up with American frontier started in 1607.
1607.
Yeah.
Well, when
Okay.
the hell was the
When was the
Renaissance?
Old West, a period of the Old West from 1865 to 1895?
Okay.
That was considered the cowboy era.
That's what we're talking, I think.
Oh, wow. The growth of the railroad in the mid 19th century is kind of what brought the cowboy era to an end. So we're looking at late 1800s.
Yeah.
Woman, oh, late 1800s. Just know I almost typed cost of a blowy in 1895 just to know if that nickel is high or low.
I think that's gonna get you on some sort of watch list.
Yeah, it's probably for the best that I didn't.
So the Renaissance ended around 1600, apparently.
Huh.
Yeah.
Now, uh, I mean, I hadn't considered a corset.
Oh, sure.
I'm not gonna be interested in that, and I'm not gonna need anything to make my butt appear larger in the dresses, so
Oh,
I won't
yeah.
require that. But, I mean, what was expected of a woman in the late 1800s? They labored in domestic tasks, personal service in beauty parlors. Beauty parlors in 1800s? I
Is that
don't
just
know.
another name for saloon gals?
Also teachers. I don't think I could even teach back then. I couldn't teach
Yeah.
now, but I don't think I could teach then where it was like just a one-room house and you have kids of multiple different ages.
Mm,
I just don't think
right.
I just don't think I could. Um, but I love how quickly I'm like, "Oh yeah, I could work in a brothel." Like this is and people may be like, "These two have lost their damn minds." But like I challenge you, dear people, ask yourselves, like, if you were put into the late 1800s, could you do what needs to be done to put a meal on the table? And I'm saying, yeah, probably.
Yeah, look,
Again,
I
once I
I said
find
it
out I'm in
immediately.
love with Cecil, that's it.
Yeah, again, well, we would have very rich, full lives, it's not all it doesn't define us.
No.
Yeah.
I'm also dying to know, like, what my nickname would be because I feel like there would be a name. I mean, I just feel like my actual name back then would have been Blanche
Yes, your
because
name would
that
have been
feels right.
Blanche.
But, like, I just wanna know, like, what would be the name? Like they're ordering off a menu, you know what I mean? Like,
It's
when they
gonna
come
have to
in,
do with the hair, I'm sorry.
like, "Who wants the rambling rose?" You know what I mean?
Oh, sure.
Something like that. Like, I just feel
I
like
assumed it would be Ginger Snap because you're sassy.
ginger snatch.
There we go.
I mean, that terminology is, far too futuristic for them, but, I do like ginger snap
Yep.
because I'm not giving them my real name, but, Cecil knows,
Oh, yeah, Cecil
and
knows
I
it's Blanche.
guarantee he calls me miss. Like, it'll be like, I brought you this, Miss Blanche." And I'll just be like, "Oh, that's so sweet."
Yep.
Not realizing that it's like he's a catch. Just give Cecil a chance.
Yep. Give him a chance. Look, would I be Dorothy? And then
Oh.
what would my nickname be? Yappy? Like, am I the
Yappy.
talker?
Oh, I assumed it would have to do something with you being partially nude. That
Oh my
seems to be
god.
your calling in every, time frame. Okay, okay. Oh,
Chatty.
Well, if you're
Chatty,
Dorothy,
naked
I
Kathy?
guarantee someone's calling you Dottie.
Yeah.
Well, the sheriff.
Yeah.
Except once he realizes other people around, he'd be like, I mean, Dorothy, of course.
Of course.
And you're just like, just call me Dottie.
Yeah.
Oh my God. The first time you guys get to kiss, it's going to be nice. I
Oh,
want this show immediately. Just, I want to
listen.
finish here and go, catch up on the next episode.
Yeah.
That's what I want in my soul.
I love that.
Have you mentally cast, the sheriff or the piano player, bartender? I mean,
I hadn't.
well, I don't know how to tell you this, but Cecil will be played by Henry Cavill.
Nerdy. The character I described as nerdy and slight. Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
Superman.
Yeah. To be fair,
Yeah.
he's obsessed with video games.
Yeah. He built a computer.
100%. What did it for me was I saw a video recently. I can't remember the director, but he worked with Henry on 2 films, and he said every single time he was in a room with Henry, anytime a woman entered the room, Henry would stand up without even thinking about it.
I like that you're just on a first name basis now.
Oh, look, once I realized I was in love with Cecil, that was it for me.
That was
And
your
so
mind's eye.
yeah, and then it was like, who could play that level? Oh, but you know who else could? If we're going more slight.
Sure.
Because obviously Henry would take a while to get rid of some of that muscle.
Yeah.
Sam Claflin.
Yeah, I could see that.
Thank you. Okay, I'll take that. I'll take that over I don't know.
It just was
Yeah.
so funny because it was like, oh, he's nerdy, he's shy, whatever. And Henry Cavill is like a beast of a man. Like he's
Like I said, Jason Momoa or the Rock.
yeah, exactly. It was like you chose an actual like giant superhero, you know?
I did. I mean, thank God I didn't pick Chris Hemsworth. That would
I
have
was
been
thinking the
ridiculous.
little Spider-Man. Like I was thinking more of that vibe.
Oh yeah. Oh, well, here's the thing about Tom Holland. He's going to play oh my God, he's going to play the bad guy that I'm in love with, his younger brother, who's going to get caught up in the thing, and spoiler alert, he's going to end up dying in the street.
No.
And I'm going to be the one that holds him, and that's going to be the moment where I'm like, I don't want this life.
As he
Whereas
bleeds out.
I'm going to look his brother in the eye, and his brother's going to make a face and then just leave the scene. So he cares more about his own freedom than about his brother who's dying in my hands. That will be Tom Holland. He could do it.
The fingery piano player,
Yes.
Harry Styles.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Thank you for fingery, by the way.
You're very welcome.
Because I hope we mean that in every way possible.
Piano
I've gone
player
off
fingers,
the rails.
you know?
I've gone off the rails.
We've been
Yeah.
off the rails since minute 2 of this. Don't even worry about that. The bartender, I'm like, where do I go with the bartender? Is it a young David Duchovny?
Oh. Interesting. Now, I don't know what role, but I'd like to see oh my God, I love that I'm blanking on his name. Denny Duquette.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Thank you. I'd like to see him be if need be, he can be Tom Holland's brother.
Oh,
Because
you're willing to sacrifice, of course.
well, also to be fair,
If I have to.
he's in my defense, he's already been Negan from so he's already proven he can be like full dirtbag.
Sure.
So I feel he has it in him. I'm not suggesting I need to, because remember, I love him, but he doesn't love me. I'm
Yeah.
just a free fuck. What?
It's it's when we get earnest about it. It's when we're just like, yes, we're in it now.
Mhm. Yeah, it's too late. Like, this is just what it is. Um, Nothing makes me happier than when I'm like, "Oh, I'll make sure I have something written for the next time we do a last call," and then all of a sudden, the Renaissance comes out, and it's like, "Well, pens down because we need to talk about this."
Look, I was gonna lead us towards your prepared
Mhm.
dialogue?
Sure.
Content. And then we got into this, and I made a mental note of just why.
Oh,
To
you
it's
have
what
to let it. You have to let it go. You have
to
once we get to a
quote
point that we're just in it and
yeah,
it's clicking and we're
we're riffing.
once we start casting people, you can't go back.
To quote The Sound of Music,
Mhm.
how hold on, fuck, hold on, it's a song. How do you how do you take a moonbeam into the sand? What is that lyric?
How do you take a moonbeam into the
Yeah,
sand?
how do you
Um, uh, oh, I don't know, but I feel like part of that's gonna be the title of our show.
how do you solve a problem like
Maria.
Maria? How do you catch a cloud and pin it down? That may have been what I was thinking
Oh,
of.
yeah.
What does it mean? Ha! How do you hold a moonbeam in your hand?
There it is.
There it is.
There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you keep a wave upon the sand? I conflated those two lines. How do you keep a wave
Oh,
upon the sand?
sure.
Meaning, when it's that magical, how do you try and you can't tether it?
You can't.
You can't. It is what it is. On that note, we're at the end of our time.
I guarantee this was more fun.
Look, you know what? Here's the thing. We don't plan it. When it
Mm,
happens, it happens. And to me, what a gift.
yeah.
Um Also because I didn't get there, casting of the sheriff. We
Oh,
have not
please.
cast the sheriff before we go. And
Yeah.
then I'll be honest, because I'm a sap, I was like, I should cast my boyfriend because you wouldn't be able to deny the chemistry.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Right. And he's also got a
Oh,
fucking killer mustache, which
there that
screams
is as
sheriff.
well. The
Yeah.
fact that I didn't try and squeeze Timothy Oliphant in here somewhere. That man wears a cowboy hat.
Guess what? That's next season. You think everything's just gonna go tickety boo once you and Cecil get together? No, there's gonna be some new guy that comes to town that tries to tempt you away, obviously.
Oh my god, we can't Sam and Diane right away
No,
because
then
then
what?
no
Why
one's gonna be interested. It's
Yeah.
just I hate that I can't go turn this on because I
And
wanna
then
know what's gonna happen.
you end up pregnant, and Cecil says, "I'll raise the baby with you." And you're like, "I don't know whose baby it is." And he's like, "He'll be my baby." Oh, or she. You know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
It'll be my baby.
that is Cecil.
Thank you for joining us, dear listeners, on this truly joyous romp. We really enjoy making this content, and we're glad that you do too. We appreciate your support here on Patreon. It lets us go under random tangents like this, as well as it allows us to make our show the main feed of our show. So we appreciate your support now and always. Christy, do you want to say goodnight to the people?
My gut says Cecil, but I'm still desperately trying to make my way through that roster, so good night, Yegor Zamula.
Sound like a real name. Oh,
Oh.
good night, Sheriff.
For today's next episode, we have a happy hour from October 2023 where we cosplayed as our favorite Keanu moments while discussing the 1998 classic film The Faculty. Why were those two things combined? Because it was Halloween and we are, if nothing else, always down for a good time. And don't worry, I will post pictures of our costumes on our socials, on Instagram and Facebook at True Crime and Cocktails, and on Twitter at Not Detectives. Which Keanu cosplays did we choose? Oh, you're about to find out.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to this happy hour episode of True Crime and Cocktails, a Patreon exclusive. We're so glad that you're here. As always, I am your host, Lauren Ash, aka Johnny Utah. And as always, I am joined by my co-hostess with the most S, Christy Oxborrow, aka character from the Rush Rush music video.
Specifically, Jeff.
How you feeling?
I'm doing great. Again, my only disappointment, I've been telling you this for days. I could not be more disappointed. Like I hated the choice that I made, because as soon as it was what Keanu, I was like, obviously, my favorite Keanu moment is the entire batshit Rush Rush video.
Yeah.
Because none of it makes sense. The extended one, I think he's high or something, like at the beginning, because the character choices are weird. But my favorite bit is him holding the milk in front of the fridge, just against his face for no reason. It doesn't make sense.
I love it.
And that's why I was like, I have to.
Well, as everyone, or as Christy obviously knows, my favorite moment is, of course, the moment in Point Break where he's shooting at the sky.
Yeah.
It's just that when I ordered this little gun, it looked as though it was all gray and black, and then it wasn't. It was gray and white. So then I was like, well, I can probably fudge it like this. Yeah, even then I should have painted it a little bit more. But long story short, I should have opened it before today is the point. I would have had more time. More time with it. This is also the Larry Bird wig, and I feel I've desecrated it. It's like it's coated in red lip gloss at this point. Did you notice that I also have his exact watch?
Of course you do. I mean, God, this time around, all I had to do was the wig and buy a white shirt and make myself a milk jug. I have one of the cosplays coming up is going to eat me alive. So I'm accepting taking the easy route and the deep cut that no one will get. Everyone's gonna have to be like, what are you? And then once you do a side by side, they're like, there it is. But other than that, they'll still be like, I don't know.
I'm realizing I did up to my cheekbone in 5 o'clock shadow on this side, but then on this side just did the jawline. I'm unwell. I wouldn't say I am well, but here's the main reason why. Now I know I have teased that something insane happened in the last hour. So of course, because it's always the way, I finish, I'm bloodied, I'm ready to go, and the fucking doorbell rings. And so I look onto my phone because I have the camera, and I'm like, surely it's a delivery, they'll leave it and go. No. There's a man standing there. I assume he's trying to sell something. So I literally am like, well, I got to get him out of here. And he can hear me because I'm yelling at the dogs. So I open the door and I just say, it's not a good time. Which I recognize now must have looked even crazier because I look like I've maybe been in a fight at first glance. And then he's like, I can't remember the term he used, but he's like, I'm here to give you a summons. You have to appear in court. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? And he's like a process server or whatever.
Sure.
Right. And he's like, I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, you've been called to appear in superior court. So then I'm like, oh my God, like the dogs are barking. There's complete chaos. I close the door. There's a pile of packages that have been delivered. I look like this. And I go, what are you talking about? Court for what? What are the charges? Then I start to panic. And he's like, it's regarding the car accident. I'm like,
got the wrong house.
What's that?
He's got the wrong house.
Nope. And I immediately grab this, like, there's this thick, like, stack of paper. And I grab it out of his hand and I look, and it's my address. And I'm scouring for a name. Scouring. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, like, what car accident? And he's like, when you worked as a limo driver. And I was like, wait a second. I never worked as a limo driver. And then I go, I also am doing something for work right now. And he goes, yeah, it's close enough to Halloween. It didn't totally surprise me. And I was like, yeah, great. And then I look, and finally, as I'm flipping through, I find a name that is not my name. And it is a name that I have seen once in a blue moon on mail getting delivered to this house. It's an old person lived here. And I said, wait a second. I go, that's not my name. That's not me. Do you want to see my ID? I can prove it. Then I realize, do I look like I'm going to match my ID right now? Then I start to think, oh my God, I'm going to have to peel all this off. I'm going to have to take this all off to like prove that I am who I am. And he goes, oh, that's not your name? I said, no. He goes, all right, well, that's okay. Just throw it out then. I said, that's the official stance that you take? And he goes, yeah, I just have to sign off that I delivered it to a physical address. But if you don't know the person, you can just throw it away.
Feels not great.
When I tell you, my heart is still racing. The statement, you've been called to appear in superior. I was subpoenaed while dressed like Johnny fucking Utah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I finally said to him, and then literally I said, okay, sure. So that's it then. I was like, yeah, I said, I do recognize the name. I have gotten mail for this person before, but they don't live here. And it would have been a very, very long time ago. And he's like, yeah, no, that's fine. Just throw, it's just trash to you then. Just throw it out. By the way, I won't be. Because in case for some reason this, I don't know, escalates. And then you'll love this. He turns to go, says, have a good day. And I said, happy Halloween.
I think we can sum it all up with, it is Friday the 13th.
Oh my God, that's right. That's right. It is. And you know, I wish I'd thought of that in the moment so I could have said happy Friday the 13th. But I just think on my bingo card. Yeah. Because this past month or so, it's just been one of those things where like everything that could go wrong has gone wrong.
Sure.
The water heater blew after I'd already replaced it. The HVAC units went. My garage needed the repair after the flood. The company that did the work for me, they gave me the wrong invoice. I said, change the invoice to the right amount and then I'll pay it. Instead, they put a pre-lien on my home through the bank. Didn't know you could do that. Not in my wildest dreams did I think being subpoenaed to appear in superior court would be on the bingo card for me.
Really ramped up.
Things have escalated. Now, again, thank God it isn't actually for me, but I can't. I came inside, closed the door, started laughing so uncontrollably. And then I texted Christy and I was basically like, the wildest thing just happened. You're not going to believe what just happened. And she goes, what, did you accidentally order a real gun? And I said, believe it or not, almost that wild.
I fully envisioned that you were like, oh, this is a good prop gun. And you were practicing like firing it in your backyard or something. And you like put a hole through something because you found out it was real. Is what I was expecting.
Oh my God. What a fucking laugh. Just when you don't think things can get crazier, they do. Don't test the universe.
Yeah. I mean, things have happened today, not to that level, but like things have happened that I'm like, it is the 13th. 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, listen, speaking of which, it is spooky season. Obviously, we're in full swing into cosplay season. I couldn't be happier about that. Now, what have we prepared for this very special happy hour? We decided to rewatch a movie that, I mean, I'll speak for myself. I probably watched 200 times as a teen. I was obsessed with this movie. And we decided to both rewatch it. Now, when I tell you I have taken extensive notes, I feel like not only are we going to, well, in my notes anyway, we're going to be taking the patrons through. I mean, we're basically, I can basically regurgitate the entire movie as well as my commentary. So it feels like this is going to be a really chaotic and interesting
I want you to
episode.
know, while I watched it last night, I just like wrote mine on some legal pad, and I was gonna type it nicely for myself to be able to read for this, but then I was like, no, I want it as chaotic as it was as I wrote it down. So,
oh yeah. Now, the film in question is, of course, the hit. Was it 1998?
Yes.
1998 classic film, The Faculty, starring, of course, none other than, I think, someone I've been in a relationship with for almost 30 years, Josh Hartnett, Elijah Wood, Clea Duvall,
Jordana Brewster,
Jon Stewart,
Usher,
Bebe Neuwirth,
Selma Hayek,
Famke Janssen,
yeah, Robert Patrick.
Yes.
Why do I feel like we're missing somebody?
We're missing a couple, but those are, I mean, this is the thing.
Christopher McDonald.
This is a cavalcade of stars.
Yes. Star-studded.
Star-studded. And here's what I'm going to say. Rewatching it, I was like, wow, this movie is bad. It's very bad.
Some things about it. I mean, one of the notes I wrote down later and near the end was, I watched this a lot when it came out. And to that I say, how? I watched it so much when it first came out, but I haven't seen it in at least 20 years, at least.
Oh, yeah.
So it had been a while.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of shocking things. There was one thing I remembered, which will come up later, and it's the only thing I remembered this entire time. But yeah, a lot of choices were made.
A lot of choices were made. I also wrote down at some point, like, how did I watch this so many times? But anyway, listen, I say we just get into it. I said, come with us on this journey, dear listeners. This is going to be chaotic as hell. Okay, so out of the gate with the song opening, Choice of the Offspring.
Yeah.
I have to say right away, nothing to do with the film. Why on earth did the Offspring have to go and put out Pretty Fly for a White Guy? I just think their other songs are so good. They're so heavy. They're so hard. And then they put out that joke. And it becomes what I feel like people know them for.
Sure. Oh, you're worried that song turned them as a band into a joke? Is that the problem?
I think, yeah. I think that's what I'm concerned about. Anyway, then I said, fun fact, I opened my live shows with Bad Habit. It doesn't matter. We haven't even gotten into the movie.
The first thing I wrote down, soundtrack absolutely killing it out the gate.
Well, I love that. Well, this is going to be a fun game. Every time we have a match, you people at home, take a drink. Okay.
Oh, they're going to get wasted. I feel we're going to have very similar feelings throughout this.
Next, I wrote, Coach Robert Patrick. I shouldn't find him hot with those white tube socks, but here we are.
I wrote, accurate depiction of youth football. He was angry. He was an angry man. But I get it. Spoiler alert, later in my notes, I did write, put him on the list. Because Robert Patrick?
I'll also just say that the first half of these I did when I was a little bit drunk. So there's a bit of a tone to them. Just know that. So then I wrote, what's this lady's name again? She's hot too. I think it was Bebe Neuwirth I was speaking of.
Take another drink, because I wrote Bebe Neuwirth as a goddess.
Oh my God. Yeah, dear listeners, this drinking game is going to get you sloshed by 20 minutes into this. Then I had, did you know Robert Patrick took over for David Duchovny on The X-Files? Yeah, I checked out during that time originally. Did watch all the episodes since then, though. It's like a child's school report.
I couldn't be happier. I, for no reason, was continued on with Bebe Neuwirth, because you were like, Robert Patrick, that was your sticking point. And I was like, BB Newirth. My dream is that she leads my coven of women that I'd like to call my aunts. They would also include Wendy Malick, Christine Baranski, Diane Wiest, Stockard Channing, Laurie Metcalf, and Angela Bassett.
Oh, that's nice.
And why do they have to be a coven? Because.
Yep. I think we both know.
Yeah.
Then I wrote, where's Josh Hartnett? Is it okay to be attracted to him because I was at the time when we were both of appropriate ages? For the record, in 1998, I was 15 and he was 20. So this is allowed, right? Through the memory of my mind's eye?
There was the scene to introduce him where he's driving and all you see is the car being driven into the parking lot. And I wrote down, I just said, is that Hartnett or Haddisy? And then out loud, I said, oh, that's Josh. You can tell by the layered T.
Wait, this is what I wrote down. Oh, here's my guy driving recklessly. He's wearing no fewer than three shirts, and his haircut doesn't make sense. I am viciously attracted to him.
Okay, it doesn't come up for a while, but I'm going to go ahead to it. I said the quote, I don't fully understand his haircut.
No one did.
And then I had to go back and add, because my husband told me I had to, I then repeated this 4 times throughout the film. At 4 different times, I went, I just don't understand his haircut. Why did it stick up?
I don't know. I don't think we understood it then, and I think we still don't understand it now.
I love that we both. We're like 10 minutes in, and we've already got at least 3 things. We're like bang on.
I know. And that wasn't what we were even trying to do. It wasn't our intention. No. We were just like, let's just both watch the movie and then discuss it. Of course, what we've done is written meticulous notes, and now the game, which we always find a game, is to see what match. Now, doubling back for a second, I did say the opening title credits have kind of a supernatural vibe. I don't know if you noticed that, but it felt very much like when the title card came up. I don't know. There's something about the music and everything. It felt very supernatural to me. Then I wrote, oh, I forgot the little hobbit is in this.
I read something that I love that I don't have the exact details, but somebody on set of that movie said to Elijah Wood, hey, they're making a Lord of the Rings movie. And he's like, I know, but I've never read the book, so I'm not going to even bother to audition. And this person was like, make a tape, send it in. And he was like, no, I don't think so. And by the end of filming, that guy had him convinced to absolutely audition. And look where it led him.
Wow.
Yeah.
He knows that guy something.
He does.
I wrote, wait, is that the guy who played Warren in Empire Records? And then it's not.
Have you come to the part in your notes where they are in the bathroom at school for the first time?
Not yet. I've got a couple more. So then
we'll get to there.
Yeah, Jordana Brewster comes in, and I love the line, these are Estee Lauder lips. They take 72 minutes to apply. What kind of lipstick? This is before Kylie Jenner lip kits, which, by the way, can be a little bit finicky. It can take you maybe 20 minutes to get those lips on. 72 minutes? Who has the time?
Oh, Jordana Brewster, who, fun fact, that was her movie debut. It was supposed to be Charisma Carpenter from Buffy fame, but she was worried she'd be typecast, so she bowed out, and Jordana got it. Her character, I'm going to bitch about her for a lot of times.
Yeah, what I like is that you're bringing real fun facts, and I'm bringing absolute nonsense.
Look, I wanted to make sure I had at least something, but then, I mean, look, what's in here? I'm going to say some pretty terrible things.
I can't wait.
About Jordana Brewster, and it's specifically her character. Oh, I should also add, I will only be referring to these people by their real names and not their character names because I didn't pay enough attention to remember those.
Well, unfortunately, I've really committed to memorizing the character names, so this is going to get a little cuckoo cuckoo. We'll figure it out.
Wait.
Then I wrote Elijah Woods is an absolute child in this. He was just so young. And then we got to the bathroom. I wrote Danny Masterson. Oh God, gross.
I wrote Danny, or because I said out loud, Danny Masterson, go fuck yourself.
That's a match. I call that a match.
That's a match.
I have a feeling that you and I think you mentioned the thing that's burned in your brain. For me, the thing, because I literally wrote down the words, this line is burned in my brain, is guaranteed to jack you up. That's not yours.
That's not mine, but I like it a lot. No, mine is what happens to Jon Stewart later.
Oh, I forgot about that. I blocked that. It was troubling.
Only thing that's burned in my brain, which is probably why I have not revisited this in 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. But when Jon Stewart is hitting on Salma Hayek, very poorly, and then fails, he, as he walks away, says, put a pen in my eye, which is foreshadowing, and you know how I feel about that.
Yeah, I have a eye thing too. And I said, I feel like a young Ben Feldman could have gone out for the Elijah Woods role in this.
Oh, 100%.
Right?
I can see that.
And then I did say regarding Jon Stewart, I feel like I would have had a crush on him if he was my teacher in high school.
Jon Stewart?
Even with the little goatee, which he should never have.
Never. Should never be allowed, but 100%. I also love that I'm highlighting as we go, just to make sure I'm not doubling back, to make sure I hit on everything. But I've now added a second color for when we match.
Here's the other thing I just realized. What I like was I really felt like I had done a great job of like keeping track of the plot of the movie. And we have given absolutely no explanation.
We should explain maybe we should give a general idea of what the movie is about.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
First of all, it's set in a high school. For those who aren't familiar, and it's a group of teens and a group of teachers, basically, and weird things start to happen. And turns out there's aliens that are slowly taking over.
Yeah.
That's enough, I think, isn't it? Then I wrote,
well, the aliens are like taking over inside people's bodies.
Correct.
So on a first glance, you can't tell if someone's been taken over or not.
There it is. That's all anybody needs to know, right?
I think so. It was the late 90s.
The water. I forgot the aliens need water. Oh my God, Christy was right about the dampness.
Is that where I got it from? Did that stick with me as a core memory? Linking aliens and wet?
Maybe.
Have we got to your part about Jordana Brewster and Sean Hattasy as a couple?
Almost. Before that, I have one thing, which was, well, I use their character names. Zeke, aka Josh Hartnett, just made a masturbating joke. Man, there's an intensity to him. God, I get why I loved him so much.
Yeah.
And still,
look, there were a lot of things that occurred in that movie that I don't think should ever be said and could never be said in a movie now.
Yeah. But yes, then I saw then Jordana Brewster, and what is the guy's name who played her boyfriend? Stan. I know the character
Sean
name.
Hattasy.
Yeah, he's cute.
Oh yeah. On the list. He's also, I mean, he was probably my main reason for watching it.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Well, because Josh, I was like, yes, please, but it was also like, but pull the reins, because Lauren has claimed that.
I had deeply.
So I chose Hattasy, and it just couldn't be stopped.
Yeah, I get that.
I said Jordana is a bad girlfriend, not supportive. He wants to quit football, and she says head cheerleader dates quarterback, not academic wannabe. She's the newspaper editor.
Great point.
So you can't be newspaper editor and head cheerleader. I mean, stop it.
There's a lot of inconsistencies in this. I hate to even refer to it as a film, but movie. There is a lot of inconsistencies in the story that and that is where they started. Another one I wrote that was, do we buy that Clea Duvall's character Stokely, who's a super alt girl, would be wearing a Tommy Hilfiger sweatshirt? I don't buy it. I also just like to add that in high school, my boyfriend Scott had been gifted a Tommy Hilfiger backpack and felt weird about it because he was anti-establishment and whatnot. So wrote child labor on the logo as some sort of protest, but then still continued to use the bag.
Of course. Well, the joke is, I have a fun fact about why she's wearing Tommy Hilfiger.
Did they sponsor the movie? Because it's all through it.
Well, the cast was provided, or the clothing for the film was provided by Tommy Hilfiger in exchange that the teens get featured in a commercial for Tommy Jeans that ran at the same time the film came out.
Oh, wow. God, again, you've really done some homework on this.
Not really.
I did.
I was like, what's fun tidbits we can bring up that's more than Christy saying, next scene, Jordana goes full cunt and bullies Clea Duvall. Once she started bitching at Elijah Wood, I wanted her to get taken over by aliens. Yeah.
I also wrote, this movie is really just a cautionary tale for people to not get into teaching.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that.
Elijah Wood said, I don't think a person should run unless he's being chased.
Yeah.
Preach.
Preaching to the choir, sir.
Here's a question. This is my next thought. How does a high school science teacher know so much about the inner workings of sea creatures? He said, and I quote, this only exists in the kidney of certain squid and octopi, which doesn't make sense. This is Ohio. It's a pelagic organism. What's pelagic? Enter Usher. Now, like I said, these notes are completely batshit and don't make much sense. I think I was just transcribing the lines. Then Josh Hartnett, Zeke, knew the answer that pelagic meant sea dwelling. And I wrote, so he's smart and a bad boy? No wonder I was so obsessed with this movie. And what I want to say is that for most of these notes, I was trying to convince myself that I wasn't attracted to him, but I think we both don't, like, currently, and I think we both know the truth.
I understand that. I did write that becoming an alien host makes you super confident and hot. They're not making it unappealing.
I just feel like, again, not that I should let it go, but I'm like, when Jon Stewart says, I don't recognize its surface tissue at all, I was like, did any public school teacher have this much knowledge about sea creatures? Maybe I'm really underestimating the quality of, I just don't feel like they should have to have that much knowledge more than anything. I feel like it's a lot.
It was also the fact for me when they find the creature and he puts it in the water and his instinct is, I want to touch it. And he says, well, because it's changed, I want to touch it now. And I'm like, through a glove through water, what's that going to do?
I know.
You're not going to be able to tell. Like, I don't understand.
So basically, Elijah Wood's character finds a little slug thing out in the field, in the football field, brings it to the science class. I'm just giving context. They're kind of like, looking at it. Someone accidentally spills water on it and it starts to move around. So it's like, oh, it's not dead. It gets put into an aquarium of water. It grows and mutates. Jon Stewart tries to feel it. It splits into two. It can replicate. Then all of a sudden it bites him. So yeah. And then there's all these, like, I don't know what you'd call them, like string things that come out. Tentacle, yeah. Very fine. Yeah. Then I wrote, Usher is a bully. He says, you're occupying my air, anal probe. Was that a nod to this being about aliens?
Oh, I did not pick up on that. Probably.
Yeah.
Oh. Have we got to the part in your notes about when Elijah Wood is like telling his parents there's something up at school, like something's happened, and then his parents show up at the school and then take him home to punish him?
I have so many notes before that. I think, unless I skipped that part, tell me. The next thing I had was the steamy shower room with the soap on a rope.
Oh, sure. Okay.
I can't believe, to be honest, I can't believe you skipped over that.
Well, I did go back in and write the old woman in the shower ripping open her clothes and screaming, "It's too hot," is a great representation of menopause.
Yes.
And based on what happened to her, that's how my body's handling it.
Well, listen, it's coming for all of us. I wrote, Robert Patrick's calves are impressive.
Look, I said repeatedly throughout our viewing, he was well cast.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I should have just skipped ahead to the part you were talking about, but then people wouldn't get golden gems like the following. I like that Josh Hartnett's character sells drugs and porn, but also knows a lot about a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. He offers his teacher, Miss Burke, who's confronting him about what he's doing, selling drugs and whatnot. He offers her cherry flavored Magnum condoms. She simply says, "That's so rude," and walks away. I'm like, now that would be assault. Like that, he would be charged. Like, you can't do that anymore.
Correct.
Different time. Then I also just want to know, they talk about how he had to repeat his senior year. And I'm like, is that because Josh Hartnett was a full man in this? And they were like, we have to make it look like, we have to justify him being a full man going to high school. So we'll say he at least had to repeat a grade.
I have a lot of questions on why he needed to repeat. It feels very like he knows the stuff, he just won't apply himself.
That's what they kept saying. Yeah.
It just also feels like if he hated school that much, but it's also like maybe he didn't.
Yeah.
He was scared to look at it, like looked like outside of school.
Yes.
Yeah.
There you go. I said Jon Stewart's last name in this is Furlong. Was that after T2 child heartthrob Eddie Furlong?
His name in the show is Eddie Furlong. Is Edward Furlong. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know the first name. Well, this is why we do this together. Yeah. Then I wrote, the climate compromises your nervous system. Oh my God. Christy was right. The atmosphere is everything you know or believe about aliens based on this movie, which I want to remind you, you said earlier, that's a match.
100%. Oh, this, I truly, truly believe.
Yeah.
That this is absolutely where most of it got into my brain, sunk in, and then I just like avoided alien media since.
Yes.
And so, because it terrified me.
Of course. So at this point, Casey Elijah Wood knows that the teachers are all messed up.
Yes.
They're coming after him. He tells Delilah, Jordana Brewster, to run. He falls. He says, wait. She doesn't. What a villain.
Oh, I fucking hate her.
Then, so they thought that they had seen a dead person in a closet. He goes and gets his parents, brings them in. The police get called. But when they open the cupboard door, it's Resuscitation Annie. Remember her?
Yes.
The dummy that everybody saw CPR performed on at some point in their lives, if you grew up in the 90s. Then I wrote, watching how the adults gaslight and disprove this child is the biggest horror element of the movie of all.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
I mean, I was really happy to see the parents being like, oh my God, we're at that school, we're being supportive. But the second they left that school, that support got left behind.
Yeah. Yeah. His parents then said he needed a therapist.
Yeah. And then they were like, punishments.
Yeah.
No internet, no music. They took away his porn, and the father said, quote, no more flogging the bishop, pal.
I wrote that down too.
As though that would stop him.
Oh, well, thank you very much. And I also wrote down no more flogging the bishop. That's a new one.
Yeah, I don't like it. I didn't care for it. I was uncomfortable.
Yep. There was also a Dateline reference, something about teens being on drugs. I liked that. I said, Casey got his internet taken away. Oh, what a threat. He won't get to hear the dulcet tones of his dial-up.
Yeah. And I also like that they were like, you're going to go to school and you're going to come home. And I'm like, what was he doing before? I think that's what he was doing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think he was actually like popular.
He didn't seem to have a lot of friends.
No.
So then
he pictures of Jordana Brewster and hung them above his bed. Take that, flogging material, Dad. Like, you think the magazines were it?
Well, it would be nice. Use your imagination for a while, once in a while. So then I wrote, he's frantically typing and he has robot bug things that move around. Meanwhile, he goes to climb out the window.
Yeah.
The teachers are all waiting outside. He falls off the roof. He says, Dad, they're here. And then whispers, faculty. And there is so many moments in this movie where they refer to the teachers as the faculty.
Faculty. They have to reference it.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Then I wrote, is Casey, Elijah Wood's dad, Shooter McGavin? He looks like an out-of-work Vegas magician.
Yeah, look, that mustache.
I wrote, kind of like a magician who got canceled for getting handsy with his assistant.
100%. The second he came on screen, I went, "Hey, Shooter McGavin."
Okay,
that's who he will be forever.
I also like that when Elijah Wood sees the coach, who he at this point knows is an alien, talking to his dad, knowing that means that his dad is going to get turned into an alien, he just accepts it. He's like, oh, well, he just like wanders off. He's like, well,
maybe it'll calm him down. Maybe it'll make him love me.
Maybe he'll give me my quarterback.
It does turn you into the complete opposite of what you usually are.
Yeah. Then I wrote down Delilah Prophet. Her last name is Prophet, and it's spelled the same way. And is this when we're supposed to find out she is related to Dean and Annie Prophet from Overboard?
I mean, she had the rich snob part down.
Right?
Well, but I guess the prophets weren't snobby.
No.
Oh. God, her whole character drove me insane.
Yeah.
Insane. I had a note before it, but there's the part with her in the bathroom where she's like hiding from everybody. And she's normally like the super popular girl. And so she shows up wearing glasses because apparently she normally wears contact. She's wearing glasses and her hair is put up in a ponytail. And she said, quote, "I'm in drag." Jordana. I know it was a different time, but
it is also that like trope from 90s movies where it's like the unattractive girl like takes off her glasses and puts down her hair and it's like, she's gorgeous.
Yeah. And she wanted to hide, so she just did the reverse.
Yeah, exactly.
As though she didn't look exactly the same. I did write down, is that Creed? It is.
It was.
The soundtrack continues to pop off.
There's a scene, I don't remember what class it was, but there's a scene shortly after that in a classroom, and there is a background performer who is dramatically opening a like comically large sketch pad, and it just took me out of the whole thing.
I already need a rewatch.
I'm gonna have to find that clip.
Oh.
Yes. What did I have next? Oh my God. Now it's Danny Masterson and the kid from Dazed and Confused. I gotta say, there was 5 years between these two movies being made, but to quote McConaughey, That kid from Dazed and Confused looks the same age.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. 5 years in between.
Yeah. He did not, that kid did not age. Not back then, anyway.
There was also the whole thing where Stan, aka Sean Hattasey, he was the quarterback
Yep.
for the football team, and he decided he was tired of that, and he wanted to become more of an academic.
Yeah.
So he was going to quit the team. And I wrote down, I've never been an athlete, but I can confidently say absolutely no football captain in the history of football has ever been tired of the attention that they get.
Yeah.
And I stand by that. I understand what he was saying.
Yeah.
But he just gave a very like, oh, I'm just tired of people being nice to me just because of it.
Yeah.
And it's like,
I know. He goes on like a whole thing about like, I got a D on something, but then the teacher gave me an A because I played good in the game that week. And like, I earned that D. That was my D. And I was like, okay. It's so 90s. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, 100%.
There's a scene with Clea Duvall and Elijah Wood, and she's talking about Invasion of the Body Snatchers. And I have to say, like, there's a lot of scenes in this movie, and this is another thing that I feel like happened in the 90s so much, where they would talk dialogue, there would be heavy dialogue about another piece of actual pop culture. So it's like they'd be like talking about, well, like in this movie, this, and this. And it was like this weird way that I think that screenwriters were trying to like give homages to like the things that had inspired them or something. It's like in Dawson's Creek where he's like obsessed with Steven Spielberg, or like, I don't know. There's just something for me where it always takes me out of something when they start like going on a long rant. It's like the writer almost wants to prove how much they know about something, if that makes sense.
Sure.
But in this, Clea Duvall's character is talking about the movie Invasion of the Body Snatchers and going into great detail, etc. And then she says, but the Body Snatchers is a story someone made up. And Elijah Wood responds by saying, yeah, so is Schindler's List. All fiction is based on some truth. I believe Schindler's List was a true story. And I did Google it. I didn't do a deep dive, but from a quick Google, it did appear to corroborate that it is a true story. So I just think it's like, sure, I'm sure maybe there was details of the story that were, you know, but I don't know that it's a responsible message to put out there, that it's like, hey, a sci-fi movie about pod people called Invasion of the Body Snatchers can be compared to the story of absolute genocide of Jewish people. Like, I just think it's just a bit of a, again, it's a inappropriate and irresponsible kind of line of thought.
Oh yeah, again, the fact that we watched this movie repeatedly, because at the time we were like, peak. This is peak cinema.
Yep.
And now it's like, oof.
I know. Then they did say maybe the X-Files is right, and I said, and I'm back in.
I did write down maybe the X-Files was right because I thought that would resonate with you.
Then we get Zeke, aka Josh Hartnett, stealing from the science lab, and I just simply wrote, I am in love.
Oh, the only thing about that storeroom is I wrote Josh's hand on her face during that kiss. Christ.
I wrote, ding, 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 we have a match. I wrote, I don't know if it's appropriate for me to comment on just how hot I find this sweet kissing scene. His gentle touch of her face, good God.
We are the same person.
Yep, we always have been. Then I wrote, this is when I wrote, I think I've been in a relationship with Josh Hartnett since this movie. He's my longest and truest love, other than David Duchovny. But I think Duchovny is a bit more of a lech in real life. So,
oh, sure.
I think I'm just really feeling Josh Hartnett right now.
Well, of course. He was recently in that show you watched that you rewound. Rewound.
That episode of Black Mirror. Oh my, oh my God. It's the hottest thing I feel like I've seen in years. Anyway. There was a mention a couple minutes ago. There was another mention of the faculty, and then there's another mention of the faculty. I was keeping track. And then I just said we should drink anytime they say faculty in this movie.
I wonder if they thought like the average teen isn't going to know what a faculty is. Because what were they going to call it? The teachers. Like, no.
The staff.
So they had to keep reminding them that they meant the teachers. Like, it's amazing that one of the characters just didn't turn, like, say the faculty, turn directly into the camera and go, that means teachers. You know what I mean? Like, it just felt so hard that they're like, we need to find a way to link that title.
Yep. Then, of course, we've got Jon Stewart at this point is an alien.
Yes.
They get into a fight, and I was like, watching Jon Stewart rough up some teenagers is melting my brain. I just feel like he's so far away from that now in terms of what he does.
Sure.
As a host, etc. He doesn't really act as much anymore, obviously. I was just like, this is just wild to watch. And then I skipped over the eye injury because I hate it. But he does, Josh Hartnett rips the blade off of an old school paper cutter and then cuts off all of his fingers, all of Jon Stewart's fingers. I forgot about that.
I wrote down Sean, aka Stan, tossing Josh the guillotine cutter handle hot.
Well, that's right. He ripped it off and threw it to him.
Rips it off and then just in one swing hands it to Josh, who takes it and then swipes. Yeah, but that fucking eye injury is the only thing I can still see in my brain, and I hate it.
I know.
I don't want to see it.
I don't want to talk about it either. Yeah. Then all of his cut off fingers became slugs. Are they sentient? I asked. Then I wrote, God, this death scene is insane, and I can't imagine what it was like to film it. Like, him actually dying was like so over. I'm like, how they got through this? They must have fucking broken and laughed on so many takes because it's so over the top.
100%.
Then I wrote, how is there still 45 minutes left in this movie?
Yeah, there were a lot of things, like, it could have been edited a little differently.
It's a little top heavy, I think.
Yes. I know we kind of mocked the script a bit, but Clea Duvall using the insults gutter slut and tit bags was easily one of my favorite things. Like, I yelled tit bags as soon as she said it and was like, that tit bags. That's so funny to me. I just can't.
Oh, yeah. So at this point in the movie, all of the students have become aliens except for our hero squad, which feels impossible to believe just given how quickly they're taking over. Then I wrote, boy, Zeke drives fast, and why is it so hot when he's smoking? Lauren, stop it. That's what I wrote down.
Look, this reawakened something for you.
Oh, I'm all in.
Of course.
The next old Cosmo Girl magazine I buy, I think we know who'll be on the cover.
Oh, I can't wait. I wrote, there was a scene when they're leaving the school and going to his car to go to his house that I wrote, did I just see Zachary Ty Bryan in the background? I did not. We had to go back and forth to pause it, but I absolutely did not.
So it should also be noted that there are 6 of them at this point.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, literally, one of them is an alien.
Yeah.
Which we find out eventually. And she has been the whole time. She started it the whole...
Well, I mean, then at that point, technically 2 of them.
That's true. Yes. But then I just said, so there's a new girl in school, this very cute blonde girl, and she is, of course, the queen alien, we find out later. My question is this. What is she trying to get out of this long game? with these other kids that she hasn't turned yet. So one of them has, spoiler alert, Jordana Brewster. So that leaves 4 of them that are not turned. And at this point, we are to believe from scenes that show us all of the rest of the students in the school, all of the faculty, everybody has become aliens.
Everyone in town.
Why is she like running through that? Like, what is the purpose of this ruse to like keep going with these 4 kids? Like, just turn them.
Yeah. I don't know. It's almost like she is the mob boss and doesn't want to get her own hands dirty. It's like, I started the one, I hit the first domino, the rest should do the work. But it's just like she wants them to come to her or something. But it's like, but they're trying to get rid of the aliens. And you're like, I'll come.
Yeah, I'll
join you.
It feels like a real plot hole to me, but anyway.
Oh, that's a beautiful segue to Josh Hartnett can't graduate from high school, but he can do a complete animal autopsy.
Yeah.
And it was a pet.
I know. It should also be noticed, he's noted that they did like an experiment with one of the alien slug things. They infected the pet rat or the whatever lab rat, and then he just casually broke its neck. And I was like, is he a sociopath? Then I wrote, oh God, he's dissecting the alien mouse, barf. And yet I find myself immediately back on board because he put on glasses.
Oh, I wrote so many kids hiding their glasses to appear cool.
Oh my God, he looks so hot in those glasses. Then I wrote, how does he have a gun? What is his story?
Well, he has to have a gun. He has a full meth lab set up in his garage.
Yeah, in his parents' garage, he got a full meth lab in there. Also, then it's revealed that the drugs that he's been selling the whole time are mostly just crushed up caffeine pills. And then I just wrote back up Jessie Spano once again. We mentioned her in like 2 last calls ago. Yeah. That's when I wrote, this movie is bad. So the theory that they come up with, they realize that the drug is a diuretic, that the caffeine pills are a diuretic. It dries them out and that will kill them. So the theory they come up with is that all the aliens are connected. And if they kill the queen one or the master one, then all of the aliens will die, but all of the people whose bodies are inhabiting the aliens won't die. How do they know this?
Oh, they don't. They just assume. They absolutely just assume.
The one line I did like was Stan said, I'm not an alien, I'm discontent.
I wrote it down because I'd like it on a shirt. I'm discontent. Oh, Stan.
So then they realize that the way to test each other to see if they're aliens is that they have to snort some of this caffeine pill thing.
Yeah.
And then I just wrote, Jesus, that's going to make anyone crazy. Because then Elijah Wood's character goes a little nutso. Why does he need a chemist setup if he's just crushing up caffeine pills? What is this movie?
Oh, it makes 0 sense. They took a lot of levels to it that were unnecessary.
Yeah.
But again, I think the full setup was to show us how smart he is.
Right.
And be like, see, he's not applying himself. Like, I think they were really pushing that.
Of course. Yeah. Then I just wrote, this scene is insanely long.
It was. Because that was during the time I wrote, the layered shirt was my full aesthetic in high school.
Oh, yeah. So then they're trying to get the new blonde girl to snort the drug.
Yeah.
And she says, I'm allergic. And Jordana Brewster's character says, and I'm Portuguese. Who cares? I don't know if that means that she really was Portuguese or if she was saying, I'm not Portuguese. Is she making fun of the Portuguese? What the hell does it mean? I don't know.
Oh, yeah. The script, with exception to tit bags and I'm not an alien, I'm discontent, the script was bad. Those were the 2 points that the script really shone. Other than that, not well done.
And then I wrote, this cover song of The Wall is really something.
Yeah. And the Oh God. And it was like by a random band. They
Yeah.
were like class of 99 or something.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, they really went for it. They really were pushing. We're going to do this, with the faculty. That means teachers, yeah, there were a lot of things.
So then there's the big football game, obviously.
Yes,
And then I just wrote, are we buying Usher as a defensive football player?
we aren't. Um, no, he's a receiver at best. I don't even know why I chose that, but the way he's built, yeah, no. Robert Patrick's excited expressions during that game, I wrote that they were amazing, and the same way I look at Doorables.
Oh,
That's just where I'm at. And then I wrote Robert Patrick should go on the Blanche list, and Sean Haddison,
of course.
because yeah, but his expressions, what's wild to me is the whole thing was the idea of once the alien is inside you, you can tell because the person is completely opposite, polar opposite to what they were before. And so the beginning, Robert Patrick, pre-alien, is losing his mind and intense and yelling about a football practice. Then he gets the alien, cut to the game, and he's just like over the top excited, but also when he's the alien, when Stan, his star quarterback, goes to quit, he's like, I think I'm going to quit. And the coach is like, okay, cool. So going from okay, cool, like, it doesn't bother me, you do you, man, is so different from how excited he was at that game. At the game, that's original coach behavior.
Yeah. Yeah. We found another plot hole, folks.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah. So then the kids think that the queen alien must be Principal Drake, played by BB Newirth. And so she comes into the gym where they are, and they just awkwardly tangle her in a volleyball net. Like, it doesn't really appear to be doing anything. And then they tell her to sniff this. Really should be snort it, not sniff it, I think.
Yes.
Then Zeke, Josh Hartnett, committed a murder and shot her in the head. This boy is a psychopath, and I'm still into him. This is why women marry inmates.
Yeah. Yeah. It should also be said that during that football game that is going on at the time while they're tackling her in the gym, while the players for this school are tackling the other school, they're dropping these pod things into the other players' ears. And my husband was shocked that the players were infesting opposing players during the game. I was shocked the kids weren't doing up their helmets properly before going on the field. Always a mother.
That's amazing.
I was like, and then there was a moment where in earnest I yelled, mouth guards, because they were just letting them dangle. And I was like, put them in before you get out there, you dummy.
Then Zeke was like, I'm going to need some scat. I think meaning more of the drugs, but he had never referred to it as scat before then.
Correct.
Feels weird. Stokely, Clea Duvall, goes in for the hot kiss with Stan. I said, I'm so into these teen romances, it's sick. Then Stan gets turned into an alien, and he gives this whole speech to Stokely through a door, trying to get her to let him into the gym again, and saying it's so much better this way. There's no fear or pain. It's beautiful, and you'll be beautiful. I don't know what that means. Then he says, we want you. I want you. And I just wrote, welp, this is how cults start.
Oh, I would have been, put it in my ear.
Yep, let's go. Yep.
Done. Yep. Especially me in high school?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Oh, I would have fell for that immediately.
Then I just wrote, why are there so many school buses in the parking lot?
There's a lot.
Yeah.
I guess just to remind us it's a school.
Yeah. Then listen, I go through a real point by point for this last bit. But we're not even at the end yet. Zeke goes to his car. Then Miss Burke comes. She's dressed in red and black like his car. Fights her off, crashes the car. Good news, he still has some scat. Again, we've only been calling it that for the last 30 minutes.
Of course.
Then, of course, Miss Burke, the teacher, her head gets cut off and then tentacle legs come out of it. And then she crawls back to her headless body.
That was amazing.
Yeah. It was kind of a horror show.
Yeah.
Then, of course, the new girl, the blonde girl, finally is revealed that she's the queen alien. Her tentacle arms come out. Then I wrote, they run to the indoor pool. God, I guess this is a rich school, huh?
The pool really caught me because I was like, the whole time they're complaining about how there's no money at the school. They can't afford this, they can't afford that. And then all of a sudden it's like, but they got that massive pool.
Yep. Now, there's a whole fight scene, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. They talk about how she had, the queen alien had snorted the scat when they all did in his meth lab earlier. But then they show a flashback and it shows her pinky turning into a tentacle. I almost said testicle. Tentacle. And that it dumped out the bottom of the pen before she snorted it. I meant to go back and watch and see if
that actually happened.
Yeah.
Same, but I did not.
Neither did I. Well,
I guarantee it didn't.
I don't think it did.
Because I think in that moment, Jordana Brewster does this big dramatic thing to throw it. And that's the moment we learn Jordana is.
Yeah. But they do definitely show the blonde one going to sniff it. So, well, listen, we'll give you an update next week. So at this point, Zeke and Casey Hoshnet, Josh Hartnett and Elijah Woods are the only ones that aren't aliens. Yeah. So then the alien starts talking about how her world has limitless oceans. And she's naked because she had turned into the full alien and then turned back. Her clothes had ripped off. And then we didn't need to see her naked. Like it could have just been in the shadows. But of course they showed it because it was the 90s. And then I just wrote, I guess I'm curious why Ohio would be her number one choice. Maybe she should have chosen somewhere next to more water. Yes, I know it's on a lake only because I looked up where Ohio is on a map. But don't Florida or Hawaii feel like more practical choices? Is it because it was salt water? Did they need fresh water? And if so, they should have said it.
Yeah, well, part of me thinks she thought if you start in like small town and then work your way out. But yeah, it wouldn't have been smarter to go to a denser population?
That too.
Because it's like, I'm going to go to this small town farming community and infect about 150 people and see what happens.
Again, there's a lot of issues with this. Anyway, Elijah Wood, last one standing, manages to kill the queen. And her dying, their theory was correct. Everyone goes back to normal. Then it says 1 month later, inexplicably, Zeke, drug dealer.
Yep.
It's also towards the end of the school year, I feel like. I might be wrong, but it feels like that. Zeke is now on the football team. Josh Hartnett. Correct. And openly dating his teacher, Miss Burke. And smoking a cigarette on the football field. And I just wrote, he couldn't be hotter if he tried.
Oh, though all three of those things were matches. FYI.
Oh, amazing.
Wrote, Josh is on the football team now? Exclamation point, question mark. Because what the fuck turnaround is that? That doesn't even make sense.
It makes
you don't join the team months into the season. That's so weird.
Having never played, like all of a sudden he's just amazing at football. Like that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. And where was he keeping that cigarette? There's no pockets on football pants.
I think probably in his.
Oh, then absolutely don't put it in your mouth.
Then I wrote, why is Clea Duvall wearing like lilac colors now? Is that like she's no longer an alt like goth adjacent chick because she had a near-death experience?
Oh, I think because she got the boy she wanted, so now she wants to start being seen.
Yeah, exactly. Then Delilah, Jordana Brewster, shows Elijah Wood all of the magazines he's on the cover of, like Time magazine. I think, there was a few different ones. She kisses him. So she likes him because he's famous.
100%. I wrote Elijah and Jordana, get the fuck out. She never redeemed herself.
She never redeemed herself.
For the full cunt she was the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
And she absolutely only liked him because he was famous.
Then the credits start to roll, and I wrote, this was directed by Robert Rodriguez? How did we never know this?
Yeah.
Then I wrote, this was produced by Harvey Weinstein?
Yeah.
I never know this.
Yeah, it's shocking. I mean, my husband had never seen it. So he was like, he had no idea this movie even existed. And I was like, I assumed it was everywhere. Based on the director, I just assumed he got it out there.
Yeah.
Everybody was seeing it, but apparently not. But somehow the two of us.
And was this before or after From Dusk Till Dawn? Which was the movie
From Dusk Till Dawn, I think, was early 90s, but I will verify.
Because that was the movie that Quentin Tarantino directed the first half of, and Robert Rodriguez did the second half of.
From Dusk Till Dawn was 96, and a reminder that Clooney was peak Clooney.
Oh, yeah.
That's the photo. Oh, fuck, and that also had Salma Hayek in it.
Yeah. Well, I figured that there had to have been a connection between her and Robert Rodriguez. I think they might be friends. Anyway, last thing I have to mention is, in the credits, they start showing images of each of the people. Well, not images, like little video clips. And then there's a comedic moment because everyone's gone back to normal, but Jon Stewart obviously now only has one eye and no fingers on one hand. So he's got a patch and his hand is bandaged. And I was like, oh, that's, funny bit, whatever. And then there was a couple throughout the movie that you see fighting. They don't really have a lot of lines, but they see fighting. And they give them a moment in the credits, which I was like, it's so weird. Like, why are they getting that moment? They barely had lines. And then I realized it's because she was played by Summer Phoenix of course, the River and Joaquin family Phoenix. So I guess maybe that's why.
She was the only person without lines to get a big credit at the end. And the person before her was Elijah Wood. Like, he got so far down the rung.
Well, I think it was,
they did it alphabetical. And then they tossed in Summer Phoenix at the very end.
Yeah.
Which,
and whoever the guy was, I didn't write his name down, but yeah, I was like,
they also didn't say his name on that. The whole clip was the two of them, but it only told us her name.
Oh, I thought it said his name.
Because they only gave a shit who she was.
Well, on that note, what a wild hour this has been.
Yeah, and look, I'll say it. I repeatedly said during that viewing that this has been some of my favorite homework ever, to be given a movie and be like, watch this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Realized my first misstep was not writing down the plot as I went.
I think I was so drunk. I really thought I was doing a good job of like keeping track of the plot the whole time. I did not.
You did better than I did. I didn't write it down.
Well, no, the second half of the notes, I did get a little bit better at that, but that's because I watched the second half sober. The first half, I was like, there's not really a lot of plot points mentioned, but listen, that's not why people tune in. That's not why people tune into these happy hours. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're to see the two of us, these two yahoos, dressed as their favorite Keanu moments, me telling a tale about how I almost got summons to go to Superior Court, and we call it a day. Yeah. So we thank you for joining us, dear listeners, for our October happy hour. We hope you enjoyed this as much as we did. Your support here means so much to us. It allows us to continue to make these shows as well as the shows on the main feed. And so we are very appreciative of that. Christy, do you want to say goodnight to the people?
Good night, Sean Hattasey.
Oh, good night, Mr. Hartnett. I'd like to feckle his tea.
Dear people, thank you for taking this journey with us today. I hope that you enjoyed the sneak peek behind the Patreon curtain. We also have live Q&As, monthly polls where patrons can vote on episodes of the show, all kinds of stuff. If you're interested in more, you can check out patreon.com/truecrimeandcocktails. And while this Patreon journey was a beautiful time, never fear, we will be back next Tuesday with our regular programming. So stay tuned because On the next True Crime and Cocktails, Unsolved Mysteries, Body in the Basement. That's right, Unsolved Mysteries dropped some new cases, and we are more than happy to oblige. Would I like to say goodnight to the people? I would. Good night, people.